What is going on? It's Jake, aka StarCoding, coming at you with another video where we're talking about computer science. And today, I was just going through the normal, scrolling through Reddit, scrolling through Twitter, came across an interesting post. I got some publicity. Just a classical guy going through an interview process, applying for jobs, and the recruiter allegedly, accidentally leaked their criteria for what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. Whether or not this is real or not, who knows? I think it's a good case. Good. It probably is real. I'm gonna be real. We're gonna go through it. It's probably real, but you never know with these things. Either way, we're just trying to, find jobs out here in computer science, and having this knowledge in the back of our minds can only really help us moving forward, or give us something to rant about online, which is what we're doing now. So, let's just take a look and get started in this. All right, so we're in r/coding bootcamp. Recruiter accidentally emailed me her secret internal selection guidelines with the classic eye emoji. It's one of our favorite emojis out there, dude. It's always fun. And so we got a section of what we're looking for and what we're trying to avoid. Guys, it's alleged. It's alleged, okay? But let's not waste any time. Let's just hop right on into it. So what are we looking for at this company? I actually don't even know what the company is. I imagine, though, it's just like some sort of either prominent startup or some sort of big organization. And maybe actually at the end, we'll look in the comments and see if there's more detail there. So what are we looking for? University graduates with a bachelor's or master's of computer science from a top CS program. And according to them, these top CS programs are MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, which, by the way, those three I would say are pretty top universities for computer science. They've researched some good papers, have some good people that have written some actual good research that furthered computer science. UC Berkeley, same thing here. Great school. University of Caltech, awesome. University of Illinois. I did not know that Illinois was a top CS school, but hey, let's go. Middle America, rise up, dude. Awesome. University of Waterloo. Is that Canadian? I don't even know where University of Waterloo is. I don't know. When it comes to just like talking about CS schools in general, one, Georgia Tech wasn't mentioned. So what? Hello? Obviously, computer science from a bachelor standpoint doesn't necessarily matter where you got it from, in my opinion. I think that some schools are obviously better than others, and some schools will teach, um, you'll learn things that are outside the curriculum if you go to one of these like top schools, I'm sure. But for the most part, everyone's just learning from the same, textbooks, same data structures, algorithm, operating systems, network programming, all that jazz. So I'm curious to why it has to be a top CS program. Maybe it's because, the market's so saturated right now with, people in computer science. They have the privilege of selecting from the top. But, I mean, it is something to be said. I think if you, like, graduate from one of these schools, good for you. Awesome. However, to just not care about other, graduates from other schools, this whole like 4.0, also great. You want to hire people with 4.0 GPAs. I think that also just goes to show, hey, you want to hire people that are good at taking tests and are good at completing assignments on time. There are times where I actually think people that got into that 3.2, 3.7 range are also just as talented, if not more, because that means they actually had to struggle with some things and overcome some sort of challenges. I know in particular myself, I was doing some sort of like A-star algorithm, and that took me so long to get working. I did not make an A on the assignment, but it took me so long to even like get it to a B level that my understanding of how A-star, Dijkstra's algorithms, you have to do some really deep, rigorous studying to make it work. And sometimes I think going strictly for 4.0 graduates hires people that just are good at taking tests, are good at making assignments on time, and not necessarily people that had to like deal with overcoming some crazy obstacles and maybe some learning hurdles. I think people that, I think anything below 3, questionable. All right, maybe you get those numbers up to a B. But making like an 89 in a class, that just like hides the story. I don't know. My personal take is if you have above 3.0, that's horrible, man. Anyways, 4 to 10 years of software development experience. All right, base might be a mid, might be a senior role. If this was the entry role, I'd be like, dude, are you kidding me? But that's how it is these days. Expertise in modern JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js, React.js. I didn't know that was modern, but hey, all right, all you Vue.js developers, get out of here. You don't matter. It's got to be Next.js, dude, React.js, and some Kotlin. Okay, I didn't know that Kotlin was used outside of Android apps, but here we go. LLMs, longevity in roles. No job hoppers looking for an average of 2+ years per role. And I definitely agree with this. If I was like hiring, if I was hiring at a company and I wanted to have top tier talent, I would definitely look for people that have been in a job for plus 2 years. In my experience, if you've worked for a company less than 2 years, like what have you actually delivered? It takes probably 6 months to even understand the stack that you're working in, let alone get something to production. Are you just writing unit tests? Are you writing internal scripts? Anything that's customer facing probably takes a year of time to get to development, depending on where you're working at, or like notable features. Making a notable feature probably takes a long time. And so every time I just know I worked at a company for 2 years, and the amount of work I did that was customer facing, questionable. It was questionable work. A lot of unit tests, a lot of DevOps, making the developer experience well, but like delivering impactful features that solve progress on a customer system. It just takes time, a lot of testing, and all that jazz. So I'm glad to see that people are taking note of these job hoppers that just hop job to job in search of a higher salary, because ultimately, when it comes to skill, I think having the experience of being on a team for a long time and seeing the delivery life cycle from start to finish is huge, because you also then have to like maintain it for a little bit, and that goes to show like not delivering code's one thing, but then maintaining it afterwards is something else entirely. Significant experience at notable startups such as backed by Y Combinator and Sequoia Capital, yada yada yada. Some our clients will not hire anyone who worked at large companies only, even if the large company was Google or Facebook. If the large companies are all they have, they will be rejected. And I can definitely see this also depending on the company. Like if you work at a huge company, obviously you're kind of isolated into a silo, and you work with this one particular technology for the remainder of your 2 years there. Whereas if you worked at a smaller company, um, you have to dibble and dally with everything. Maybe even you're maybe like writing your own user stories, doing your own product development, like hey, this product needs to happen because XYZ. You do the DevOps and you do the development work. You kind of become a full cycle engineer instead of just this one front end or back end engineer. So I can definitely see why working at a smaller company is huge. I do think that it would be a shame if you just didn't hire someone because they worked at Google for 2 years. They probably met some great coworkers and learned a thing or two about working with giant software development stacks that would be useful for anything. I think like one of the major things that's awesome about working with one of these big companies is the scalability and the best, I hope, best practices you learned from working at one of those companies. Like, oh yeah, if Google does this, you're probably okay doing it at this smaller company too. It just like teaches you these best practices. I've never worked at one of those larger companies though, so who knows? Maybe it's just a scam all along. Diversity hires. Yeah, well, you can look at me, guys. We are definitely not making the diversity quota cut. We got the cowboy hat on too, so we're just doubling down. We're doubling down that we are, yeah, we are not making that cut. We are not female, and we are definitely are not black. U.S. citizens, so obviously they're probably a U.S. company doing some, okay, very cool. Absolutely no visa sponsorships. Probably not a big enough company to get the visa sponsorships, so that makes sense, I guess, if you don't want to deal with that. I don't know how the internals of companies work when it comes to that stuff. Bonus points for becoming a founding engineer. So guys, make an LLC in your name, make a React app, uh, and hype it up, dude. Pay some marketing ads and just put it on your LinkedIn. You know, you just got to have that founder status in your LinkedIn. Then you can tell a story in your interview about how it went and how it all went crumbling down for you and your 3 users. And your users were just your mom and your sisters, by the way. Not speaking from experience, I promise. All right, and what to avoid? Okay, actually, just like first off, like what we're looking for here. I mean, overall, you're just like taking the cream of the crop. I would agree that definitely the 4 to 10 years of experience is nice. Not having someone straight out of college is nice. Having some substantial work experience. Not looking for job hoppers. I can get behind that. Having some people that have stayed at a company and did some meaningful experience and delivered some meaningful features is always cool. Um, this whole significant startups, like, dude, what? Significant startups? Okay. I mean, okay. Maybe they just want to, I don't know. I guess if you survived the interview from a notable startup, maybe that means you're pre-qualified to be good here. So that's cool. There's a lot of software companies out there though. So there's a lot of talent at these other software companies. Like one person I ultimately look up to worked at Disney. Just did like the graphics processing at Disney. I mean, I guess that'd probably uh, fall into here. They'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. So who knows? What to avoid? Visa candidates, C2C candidates. I mean, okay, don't want to deal with that. I can understand if you want to just hire U.S. citizens and not have to worry about that stuff. Job hoppers, we are avoiding that. Absolutely, got to do that. Graduates from coding boot camps, guys. I mean, there are jobs that are nice for people that are just getting out of a coding boot camp, but I do think there's other jobs that require the full breadth of knowledge that comes with computer science. Like coding boot camps will get you making features and making full stack applications that you can make a marketplace and sell things and have APIs and have working parts. But sometimes you do want someone that understands how TCP works and how operating systems, schedule processes on a CPU. There's like some cool, I guess you could say, design algorithms out there that would be nice to have with a full computer science degree. Just depends what the job is. Honestly, if this was like a full stack role, I'd say, I mean, you can get away with a coding bootcamp guy if he blows you away. But ultimately, it's just interesting that that is something they have on there avoiding. Consulting backgrounds, experience at IT software firms instead of actual product companies. I do agree with this, by the way. When you work at a company that just develops software without it being a product, for one, you're hopping from project to project, which is great for getting a mass amount of technical knowledge when it comes to just different tech stacks. Like, okay, let me use MongoDB, do some MERN stack development. Maybe I'll go to a Postgres stack later. Maybe I'll work on a PHP project. It's great for that, but it's also not great in the sense that you're jumping from project to project every 6 months, and you're not really like getting deep with a certain software stack for like caching or like performance purposes. And you never have to worry about maintainability. You kind of just like develop something and ship it off to the customer and say, "Good job." Heck yeah. I think working on the product and understanding the business is cool. Experience is limited to big companies. So yeah, I wonder what happens at Uber and Intel. Experience is limited to big companies only. Example, Uber, Intel, etc., unless paired with startup experience. I mean, okay. I mean, they're singling out Uber and Intel. I don't know what they did, what the software developers do there, but I'm out of the loop on if like there's like a notorious stigma towards Uber developers. But I mean, the app works nice. I would say like, hey, if you're an Uber developer, you made that app, props to you, man, because it works well and it scales well. Obviously, fake profiles. Okay, there's a lot of AI out there, so yeah, have some genuine, some genuine stuff about yourself. I can see that being cool. So candidates who have ever worked at the following companies are not the right fit. I just love that, dude. Yeah, if you're from one of these companies, even if they fired you because you weren't the right fit at those companies, well, you're not the right fit for us either, dude. Intel, Cisco, HP. I will say this about these three companies. I could see it being in a way like these are pretty legacy companies, and it could be a sense of like their development speed is so slow. I could definitely see like a sloth effect at these companies where you have Intel and Cisco who have been around for so long. If you want to get something out in the world, you probably have to go through rigorous testing requirements and rigorous, you know, processes, business processes. And this company maybe not care about business processes. They want you to just mainly care about delivering a product for the customers. So I mean that could be interesting depending on how the business processes at these companies work. You know, I love how they have Cognizant and Capgemini here. You're speaking to someone that used to work at Capgemini, and I can definitely understand why these consulting firms and Tata too are not a fit. One, I mean, how can I say this in a appropriate way? They just don't they just don't prepare you for the real world. You're like hiding behind a mask almost. It's like this giant company, Tata, Capgemini, Cognizant, of like 200,000 employees. You may be on the bench for a long time. You may be spending a lot of your time just studying for certification, studying knowledge. And when you're actually like working on a project, are you being held accountable for the quality of the product? Debatable. Sometimes at these consulting firms, all that they care about is getting a product out to the client in a timely manner without having to think about the quality. And I feel like at these companies, like the turnover ratio is so big, it can be hard to just make meaningful impact and have sustained leadership to work under. I don't know. I can definitely understand though why you would not want to hire someone that's worked at a consulting firm for 8 years. Sorry if that goes out to anyone here, and I hope that you have a different experience. So please tell me in the comments below. But in my experience, like the consulting firm lifestyle as a software developer is, you don't have to deal with the consequences of writing subpar software. You're you're writing subpar software and you're handing it off to a client who will then answer for that subpar software. And it's never necessarily like your fault in particular that the software didn't perform the way it did. And also these companies utilize a lot of third party like solutions, and you're almost always gluing stuff together instead of making it for yourself. Like at Capgemini, almost everything was made from Azure. So you just use Azure resources uh, to do a lot of the things. And you like glue different software products together to deliver a solution instead of making something from scratch altogether. So there is a there's something to be said about kind of becoming this like you're kind of just a power user of either the cloud or some sort of software system and then combining things together instead of actually like in the code debugging DLLs from scratch. So that's just interesting stuff. And there you have it. The pros, what we're looking for and what we're not looking for in software engineers. All right, and also looking in the comments below, it seems that we have a context of who this was or what company this was. It was a recruiting firm for many VC-backed startups, which makes sense. I mean, their job is to get the best quality candidates and present them to VC-backed startups. So, all right, it's not one particular company in general. It's just a firm that's kind of just trying to gather the best talent out there. So, yeah, what is your take on does this list make the best talent in software development? Let me know in the comments below, guys. Peace.